Hello, everyone. It's Roger Phipps, and welcome back to episode number 4 of the Knighted Ones podcast. Super excited to see all of you here. And also just going to throw a quick shout out a little later on to some of our listeners who either have A, left us some comments, or B, actually left us a review. So super excited about that this week. We're going to be talking about Villanova and K-State, 2 Wildcats for the price of 1, hopefully both with the same result. So without further ado, let me go ahead and bring in the squad. First up on stage is going to be Trey Neal. Trizzle, thank you for changing that shirt color for the folks that are viewing this and for the folks that are listening on audio. He actually had a red shirt on.
Orange. It was orange.
It was totally red.
It was
orange.
I
called him Frosty, and he went, and while I was putting this up and starting to record, he did a quick change. So thank you, Trey, for not being Scott Frost this week. All right. Without further ado, we'll go ahead and bring in Josh Lazar. What's up,
Hey,
Josh?
That's me. Yeah. I did not wear orange red. I did not.
But you did wear a floppy collar again.
You know what? It's old. That's all I can say.
Stop the collar.
It's retro.
Stop the collar. You can't do the floppy collar. Come on. All right. And beyond that, someone who knows how to wear a collar that he can pop. It's Alan Levin, folks. Welcome to the show, Alan.
Hey guys, how's it going?
All right. Hey, what a great week. It kind of went the way that we expected it to, which is a good thing, right?
Yes.
There's a lot to talk about in reviewing the game. We had Timmy time, and I'm still struggling. Oh, I forgot we're doing Himmy because otherwise I'll just want to say Timmy. You know what I mean? And we can't do that for copyright reasons and other reasons. So Himmy this week made his debut. So super excited to talk about that. And we're getting ready for our first Big 12 games. Really super excited about that. So Trey actually played at a school that was formerly in the Big 12, but decided to move up to the Big 10, and we are entering it. So, dude, you've hit you've hit the AC, now you've hit the Big 12 and the Big 10 all in one career. So that's pretty impressive, sir.
Yeah, man. I just need one more to get that P4, and I can check off all of them.
Yeah, because the ACC doesn't count. So we just need the SEC. So Timo, if you're listening, we need to get in the SEC so that Trey can perfect the fourfecta. So exactly. All right, that's all we got. Let's go ahead and get into it. We're going to start with our segment. We named it Text Talk. We moved it up this past week, and the goal is to pull text from our crazy text threads. Again, the instructions to everyone is you got to make sure that is okay, because we are rated as clean somehow. We want to keep it that way. And I'm going to start with let's start with Trey, since he's my top right box. What were your 2 favorite texts from our text thread this week?
Yeah, so I'm gonna keep it short. In the text, I don't really say much because I'm like locked in the game. I just say whenever I see a great play or something that pisses me off, then that's when I really respond in the group during the game day. But the first one I'm gonna say is great play by Martinez. As you guys know, Kyle Martinez had a beautiful, beautiful interception. He went up, high pointed it, and even gave us some return yards. That's all we've been wanting from that group. We almost had another one. Yeah.
Braden
Marshall. Yeah.
Totally dropped that. Yeah. I mean, come on.
That was sick.
Brandon. Come on, Braden. Be more like Brandon Marshall. Come on, dude. It was like pick 6 right there.
Yeah. I mean, he could have high stepped the second he caught it all the way to the end zone. But we'll work on it. We'll get there. And then my second one is great play by Salazar. I think it was a little bit later. They ran a reverse. I don't even think Salazar made the tackle, but I think Lee Hunter made the tackle. He ran down and made it. That was a great play. But without Salazar setting the edge on that reverse, he's still probably running. He probably scores. I don't know if he scores a touchdown, but he's outrunning Lee Hunter because he has a sideline. So I think, those little hidden plays that might not get the fans that are like, oh, great play by Lee Hunter. Really Salazar is the one who allowed him to make that play. So I'd like to give props to those guys that are, they're doing their job, especially on trick plays.
All right, awesome. Josh, what did you have this week?
I had 2 this week. I had a preview of my golf shot was the text. So I was in the stadium and we found out because the TV was so fun this week, right? Having some announcer and technical difficulties as I saw it on the watch back. I knew I was a couple seconds to a minute ahead of everyone. And when the Villanova kicker shanked it bad, and to be fair, that kicker was pretty good most of the time, but he shanked it really bad. So I thought that would have been a kind of fun to be ahead of everyone. And then, hey, watch out for this golf shot. Because that's pretty much how
Villanova.
Yeah, that's a New Yorker in me. And so it was bad. It was a bad jank. But the last one that came right at the fourth quarter is they ruined my perfect pick with 1,000 exclamation points.
Hey, hold on. That was our perfect pick. I had to change it and put an asterisk on it because of you. I
went first. Yeah. Well, you went up. You could have went lower, and then you would have gotten it. But you went up. But I didn't expect them to score 2 touchdowns. But I knew things happen in kind of that garbage time when the 2s or 3s are in, and the opponent is just trying to grow and learn. So, yeah, I was a little upset because I was almost right on the nose.
All right. And last but not least, Alan, what were your 2?
I had one of the things I said, which we all were talking about this, but when USF and Bama were tied 3-3 at half, we said that someone in the dungeon needs to make a T-shirt for "We were once tied with Bama at halftime."
Yeah. So for those of you that don't know, the dungeon is UCFsports.com. Brandon Helwig, longtime UCF not only supporter but also media, covered the school for longer than just about everyone, and one of the most knowledgeable people I know about UCF history. And we will have him on the show at some point. But go check out his site, UCFsports.com. The dungeon is awesome. There's a lot of great people who've been around UCF football a long time. Take them with a grain of salt, because half the time everything they say needs to have an asterisk behind it. But it's a great place to be. Okay, Alan, go ahead. What's your second one?
Just how we were talking about Lee Hunter, just saying we kept all saying holy crap, another great play by Lee Hunter. He's going to play on Sundays, and just talking about how much he's gotten better. One of my favorite parts of every UCF football season is watching the guys that are becoming breakout stars, in real time. We're watching it, and I think we're seeing that with Lee Hunter this year.
Yeah, I think the big thing with me, my favorite part of the whole Lee Hunter experience was also his worst play. Which was where he basically bonsai'd everyone on the pile after the guy was already down. There's just something hilarious about watching a 300-pound guy just belly flop everybody. And I can't imagine being at the bottom of that pile. I mean, you've already got 2 or 3 very large human beings on you. And then all of a sudden you see this guy completely spread eagle, just I believe I can fly kind of moment, right? Just jumps in the air and then just lands on everybody. It was if it wasn't so hilariously funny, I'd be upset, but I can't be upset at that because it was hilariously funny. So that was amazing. And yeah, you kind of mentioned this earlier, but one of the things that I'll sprinkle in there, when Trey's quiet is Trey, what are you pissed about? So that was my text to Trey is Trey, what are you pissed about? Because when he's silent, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
All right. So moving on from that was best 0-3 team in the nation. Here we go.
Do you remember? I was going to say,
hold on, save this. We've got a directionally challenged school update later.
Okay. We'll save it for that.
Thank you. Jeez, gosh. Oh man. All right. So let's go ahead and get into it. We'll start with Villanova commentary this week and what our general overview was on Villanova and UCF's performance on Villanova before we go on into a little bit more detail. So Trey, let's start with you. What were your thoughts on the game against Villanova?
I think those guys real time, I was like, they played 10 out of 10 perfect ball. Like right after the game when I was just talking and feeling, great after a win. But I went back and watched, and they still played very well. I think we're starting to see there might be a little bit of a tackling problem in the back end. I think really they're just aiming a little bit too low when they're trying to tackle. But really, I think they played well. I think Timmy came out, looks very sharp for his first start. He was a little rusty early, but he shook it off. I mean, you can see the talent. The kid is very mobile, very fast, and has a strong arm. The ball jumps out of his hand when he throws, and I think that's a noticeable difference between him and JRP. He has a strong arm. Now, he does need to work on a little bit of touch, a little bit more ball placement where he can lead his receivers and put them in better position to make plays after the catch. But overall, I thought he played very well. I thought the offense looked very well. Still don't know why we're calling some of these trick plays. We're getting too cute. But yeah, overall, I think they played really well as a whole. I think the defense played really well. Nakai Martinez, again, great interception. That's what you want. So overall, I thought they played pretty well. Not the perfect score, the post hype, how hype I was after we win, but they played very well. Not really much complaint.
All right, folks. So Trey, I don't know if you noticed this, but while you were talking, I changed it from Villanova to Villanova for Josh so that he would feel more comfortable. So Josh, with that being said, I'm going to move you over into the hot seat. What were your thoughts?
So being there live, there was a lot to love. I was there with my daughter, so that was wonderful too. And anytime I could be at a game where my daughter can run around in the stadium because there's no one left and we're up real big and I don't have to worry about what's going on the field is awesome. And that's pretty much what happened through most of the game. I mean, that first half was amazing. It was like 1 yard passing. It was like 30 or 40 yards total offense. I agree with Trey on a lot of this, as I should. How can I not? I will say on the touch, I agree because there was for Timmy specifically, or Himmy, right? There were two passes that ended a drive. Like there was a pass out wide that he just missed.
Yeah.
And if you remember correctly, JRP sometimes missed those two last year. Mm-hmm. Right. So I think we're knocking off rust, right? It's not like he hasn't played almost a full season. He has, but it's been a while. So I think pretty much everything I expected out of the game happened in the game. We absolutely could have scored more points if we chose to, but I'm not saying we didn't, but there were opportunities there. And honestly, if we get 40 plus every single game through the rest of the season, which I don't expect, but if we did, we'd all be happy. So I think it was a great game.
All right. I'm going to expect it having the number one offense in the country right now. I'm going to expect it till it doesn't happen. So that's going to be, I'm going to be the optimist. Those of you know, I'm not an optimist. I'm a realist, but I'm going to be an optimist with this offense till it proves me wrong.
I mean, it hasn't proven us wrong yet, right? I mean, again, when we're scoring this much, except for Boise State, but we had the opportunities, right? It just feels like the offense isn't what's going to let us down. Yeah. Actually, no, I disagree with that. I think the defense isn't going to let us down. The offense kind of did let us down. Never mind. I will contradict myself really quickly.
All right. So with that being said, Alan, please try not to contradict yourself. What did you think? And guys, we'll get into Timmy a little bit, or Himmy a little bit here at a few points down. So overall, generally, what did you think, Alan?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was pretty much what we expected. Obviously it was a big win, 48-14. the offense, like Josh said, could have probably scored on a couple more drives, but the defense was absolutely dominant as you expected. I mean, they had one passing yard or one completion in the entire first half. We went out there and did what we should do. There at no point in the game was I worried or anything like that. I thought Timmy played well in his first game. I know we're going to get into that, but overall, I mean, it was what we expected. I mean, yeah, we probably left some points on the board. That's maybe my only complaint. Just if we can put up 56 against Kent State, at home, we should be able to put up, more than 48 against Villanova.
Alan's just mad he didn't hit his 60. That's all.
I'm a little salty about that.
That's haterade right there. That's haterade.
No, but overall, look, we're 3-0, guys. First time since 2019 that we're 3-0. And it was a complete game all around. Special teams, Boomer stayed perfect from the field goal. Offense played well, defense played well. Sure, there's always things you can clean up. You rarely have a perfect game, but I actually liked a lot of things that happened in this game, a lot more than Boise, even a lot more than Kent State. I feels like we're cleaning up some of the mistakes, maybe a couple new ones, kind of boiled up with some penalties and false starts and things like that. But overall, I think, we talked about in the offseason that, the non-conference schedule was a huge opportunity to start this season 3-0. And we didn't want to slip up in any of those games because we had a lot of tough ones coming up over the next 9 in conference play. And we did it. And we came away with some, really great things, leading the nation in offense, holding all of our opponents to under 20 points. So overall, I think we did what we needed to do in this game.
Awesome. All right. So here I go. A few things. One, video production was a problem again this week. Started off with a few choice words in my text to the group because I was watching it remote this week. I wasn't able to be there. Number one, we were watching the game through the goalposts for the first probably 4 or 5 minutes, which was worse than the USC seats that are blocked at the Rose Bowl. So that was terrible. And then, they finally figured it out and they got the tower cam working. So that was good. And then we didn't have announcers. So I didn't know how to feel about that for the first couple of minutes. And then they came on and then we lost them again. So, far be it for me to produce any television, but Fox, if that was on you, or UCF, if that was on you, I'm guessing it was probably on Fox. Guys, we can help you out with video production. I've got a marketing company that does video production.
Shameless plug.
Shameless plug. Sevenlights-marketingagency.com. All right. That being said, we really could have done better. So hopefully by the third game, the next home game, we get that figured out in between the lights and nobody being able to pay for anything in a touchless stadium with a credit card. Again, the good news is they got figured out quickly. And from what I understand, the lights worked this time.
Yeah.
Which was also good. It looks great on video, by the way. UCF's, I think, onto something with the up-down thing with all the lights off. It looks phenomenal on video. We did get Zombie Nation a little bit longer this week, so that was a positive. And it looked and sounded good as well. That being said, Townsend got robbed again this week on another punt return. Unfortunately, that man has got to get another punt return. I mean, that was what? I think that's like his third punt return that's been called back for a flag. Guys, you got to help the man out. I mean, he's tearing it up the line, and it wasn't like he needed the block in the back. He was already gone. So help him out. Interesting this week, we were hovering still around that 37 to 40% on passes versus the run game. So that was good to see. We expected them to be a little bit more vanilla this week, and by and large they were, but there were some RPO wrinkles in there that were fun to watch. We were at 10.6 yards per attempt. Timmy actually was a little bit higher at just over 11, which is great. We kept that up for 2 weeks in a row. And what was crazy was our defense was playing so well. We actually had 14 possessions this week.
Yep.
So 14 possessions, you're going to win a lot of football games unless you have a totally inept offense, which we don't. We can move the ball up and down the field. So overall, we wanted to give Hemi a chance to settle in as quarterback, knock the rust off. I think we did that successfully. I saw us clean up some stuff. Trey and I last week, we talked about the gaps and where the defense was set up and the linebackers and where they were set up. It looked like we got that cleaned up this week. So that was exciting. Yes, they're probably a little bit of a step slower, but you saw the results on the field with the pressures. We got some really solid pressure in the first half. A quarterback couldn't do anything. And this is a guy who threw for eight times for 300 yards last week. Yes, it is an FCS team. It is a top 25 FCS team. We looked a heck of a lot better than a lot of the other P4 did against the FCS this week. So all in all, it did what we needed it to do, right? We got some things cleaned up. We replaced our center. Drake Metcalfe is no longer the starting center. You remember I said first week and second week that the penalties were something, and the offsides penalties, they're drive killers, that we wanted to see cleaned up. And I think Gus, and in his post game, he was pretty clear. Unfortunately for Drake, we needed to get that cleaned up, and he's not the starting center. I don't expect him to be the center unless, we have some more mistakes. So great game, a lot of energy, full stadium, was excited about that. Students turned out again this week. It looked great on TV when they got the cameras fixed. It looked like everybody was rocking. Everybody was excited. And the guys were having fun, and that was fun too. So we'll leave that as the broad overview, and we'll get into some more details. Guys, what are your thoughts on the uniforms we wore this week? I was kind of but it was one of those. I liked them, but then one of the things we mentioned in the text thread and something we saw on TV is they looked like they had a Canaveral blue tinge to them, and I thought that the outline was Canaveral blue on the night script, but it wasn't on the helmet. It was actually white and black, but for some reason they looked blue. So I don't know if they had a tinge on the sticker. That was the only thing that I really didn't like. Other than that, I liked the script, and I did like the uniforms. What are you guys' thoughts?
To quote our former coach with a really good first name, Josh Heupel, I mean they're all right. I'm not as much of a uniform person unless it's like the space game stuff as other people are. It would be nice to see numbers from the stands, and I'm kind of far away. Numbers, maybe a bit of a name. That's all I really care about. Now, the space game uniforms, those are awesome. And other, I thought the first Kent State game uniforms are really nice too, but I'm not huge on the this is great. They were all right.
All right, Trey.
Yeah,
you're nodding your head.
Yeah, I'm really indifferent to the uniform. Not that I hate them.
Hold on, you were there in the middle of our Oregon rebrand. What are you talking about?
So the only things we wanted, at least us, was we just wanted to put the all black on again. That was all we.
You mean not the
O'Leary all black.
Not
that one. No. We wanted
this kind of this little yellow whatever this thing is.
Yeah, like the mustardy. Yeah, we wanted modern day all black uniforms.
So that was really all.
Yeah, that was what we really cared about the most. Other than that, it was cool. Like we liked some of the grays that they had. But other than that, like to me, I'm really like I like just having the different variety. I don't really pay too much attention to necessarily the script. Now the numbers I do have a problem with. Because again, I think you should be able to see it from the furthest seat in the stands. You should be able to at least have somewhat of an idea of what the player is and things like that. But
so
otherwise,
is that your what Trey's pissed about this week comment?
No. I already told you guys what I was pissed about. It was the trick play on third. I think it was 3rd and 1 or 3rd and 2, something like that. Like that's, and we're in positive territory. Like to me, that's what I was pissed about. But we'll get to that later.
All right, Alan. Alan?
You know, people get really riled up over uniform. Huh? No, people get really riled up over uniforms. And personally, like I was in school from 07 to 12 when our uniforms were like objectively awful. So I personally think every uniform we've had since Scott Frost came to school is awesome. I don't see any problem with these. Like maybe I'm not like a big uniform guy, or maybe I don't know uniform styles like anyone, but I thought they were clean. I remember when the UCF equipment Twitter posted it earlier in the week, and I was like, oh, those are awesome. So I think they're awesome, but I don't know, what do I know? So I think they're cool, and I don't see. I just compare everything to like that one USF game in 2013 when those were like objectively the worst uniforms we've ever seen. So yeah. I thought they were awesome, but I mean I don't really like care about uniforms. Like I know recruits are attracted to them and fans like them, but for me it's like I thought we look good. I think we are like a top 10 uniform team.
They sell merch. They sell merch. Why do you think Oregon does it? Is because
no, I agree. I that's what I'm saying. I don't see why these aren't cool. They're black and white. They match. The helmets were cool. So fine with me.
I don't know. I like being the Oregon of the East personally. So you know, all the different 175 different matching combos or whatever they had, and they had like the lottery where they were picking different combos. Dude, I thought those were fresh. Now, did I think we need an update? Yes, but I don't want to go back to O'Leary ball.
Oh, no.
Like Timo is like slowly dragging us back into, we're going to be black, we're going to be white, we're going to be gold.
Gold.
That's it.
Yeah, these were cool. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see when they come out with the all gold jammies to see what they look like. I think this gold is better, but I don't know, man. Give me the anthracite. Give me the gray. Give me the like black. Give me the give it all to me. I want it. Maybe you can see that for those of you that are watching for my hairstyle and my choice of attire this week. But yeah, give me that freshness. Let's look fresh and clean. So, all right, moving on from our uni critique. And don't get me wrong, I like them. I just want more. I want more. Give me more. More money, more problems, right? Not less.
Sure.
So, thoughts on Timmy McClain's first game, and are you confident entering conference play? Josh, I'm going to surprise the heck out of you and let you go first.
Oh, my God. No. Am I confident? Yeah. So here's the thing. I think it's really hard to judge when we're talking about Villanova. And I'm just going to get that hard over and over again. But it's really kind of hard to judge because you know that the defense of Kansas State is going to be faster and going to be quicker and going to get to the ball faster and is just going to be different. They're a Big 12 school. You know, they're the reigning champion of the conference. But I'm pretty confident. You know, I hope we continue to see that progress. I hope we continue to see, we'll talk about this a little later, but more deep balls, maybe more than we even did last game. But I really think that this is the time to see who we really are. And I don't think it would have mattered if it's JRP or Timmy. I still think within the scheme of what they're probably going to do, it's not going to be too much different. I mean, probably the playbook it might be a little different because of how much they've practiced and prepped and what they're comfortable in. But I don't think it's going to be that far off. So yes, with the question mark is my confidence level. And I thought all of that was good. But yeah, I think his first game was solid. I think he has a couple things to clean up like everyone does after both their first game or after a few games into a season. By hedging on a hard yes, but maybe a question mark.
All right. So Josh is on a question mark.
Yeah.
Alan, what are your thoughts on the Hemi Express?
I said like the first couple drives, I felt like he was like some of his timing was off. And that's probably, due to having not played in, about 2 years or any serious snaps in about 2 years. His timing seemed a little off, maybe a little nervous, with some nerves. But overall, I thought he calmed down and look, he completed 20 of 28 passes, had over 300 yards, 11 and a half yards per pass. And then he also showed some wheels on the ground, moved the ball with his feet a little bit too. So am I confident going into next week? Yeah. I mean, could he have been more dominant? I guess he could have, but like we talked about, this was a tune-up game for him. I think he got his feet wet again and he played pretty well. He moved the offense. It's not like my poison pill last game was like him just coming out and looking awful. And clearly he was not awful. He was able to be a dual threat, maybe not as much as JRP, but he moved the ball effectively. I thought he showed some really nice touch on his deep ball. There might've been like one or two he overthrew, but that pass to Javon Baker was beautiful. That touchdown, he got, him and Kobe Hudson really involved, and I thought he played pretty well. I wasn't expecting like more than this. Like that was a great opening game for him. 300 plus yards, 2 TDs. He was accurate for the most part, and he showed the ability to be a dual threat. So I was happy with his performance. Now it's like, yeah, we can't really judge too much based off in this one game, but for someone who hadn't played serious snaps in 2 years to come out and really for the most part not miss a beat and lead us to 48 points and, scores on almost all of our drives. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. And I feel fairly confident going next week. It's just like, it's just hard to judge going against an FCS school, so the first true test really comes this week. Then I'll be able to really say, okay, I'm confident moving forward or not. But as far as the first test, he passed the eye test, in my opinion.
All right. But did he pass the smell test?
I don't know.
All right. Trey's going to answer that for us. Did he pass the smell test, Trey?
I don't know what the smell test is.
Bro, you grew up in locker rooms. What are your nose? Oh, is your nose?
Oh, you know the quarterbacks. The quarterbacks they're the pretty boys. They don't get hit. They don't get dirt on them. They don't sweat. When they break a sweat, the trainers run out there and bring them some Powerade or some water and a towel to make sure they're all right.
All right.
Well, so I'm sure he was plenty fine. He probably took a quick shower and got right out there. He didn't have that much going on. But I thought overall Timmy looked good. I'm confident just because I think the surrounding pieces are well seasoned, well experienced. I think like Alan said, I didn't have super high expectations for him. Not that he's not a good player. It's just I haven't seen it. I just needed to see a baseline. I have no baseline. So this was my baseline. I think if he can perform at this level, which I think he left throws on the field. I think he missed a couple of easy throws. Oh, he definitely did. Yeah, he missed a couple of easy throws too. And but he made a lot of great throws. He made a lot of great plays. He's not the runner that JRP is, but I mean JRP to me is he's probably the best running quarterback in the country. As far as explosiveness, how fast he is at quarterback. But Timmy has very good
legit 4.340.
Yeah, he's if he gets a combine invite, he's gonna run 4.3 legit. But Timmy, he's no slouch athlete. I mean, Timmy's probably a legit 4.445 guy, which at quarterback is amazing. That's a problem, a mismatch.
Well, the thing about him is he's so shifty. Right, so
Timmy has like a little bit of Michael Vick.
He's got wiggle. You know what I mean? They call that wiggle, right? So like you saw the few runs that he did run, he's cutting quick one foot in the ground cuts, and he can read that pretty well. He did that at the Cows too versus us as well. So I think you're right in comparing them and that they're two different style of running backs.
Yeah. So right? if any of the some of the fans, one of the people that I'll compare it to is JRP's more of an Adrian Killens. Like when he gets straight line, he can fly. Timmy's probably a little bit more Otis Anderson, where he might not be straight line super fast. He's still fast, but shiftiness, he'll make you miss in a phone booth. I think that's what Timmy is. But yeah, overall, again, I think we have the surrounding pieces around him to give me that confidence. I think defensively up front, that's where I think it starts. I think we have those pieces defensively to help out the offense in any lulls or any struggles they may have. So, yeah, I'm confident. I don't think anybody in the Big 12 is unbeatable. There's some good teams, obviously, but, I think we have the talent to compete. And, again, if you have the talent to compete, then at that point, it's just about executing in the moments you need to execute. So I'm confident.
All right. So for me, a few things. He did start out a little rough. He overthrew a couple of passes. My comment in our text thread was it looks like JRP's passes from last year that everybody was complaining about, right?
Yeah.
High or just completely missed the target or whatever. He did sit back in the pocket a lot more. He was not a run-first quarterback. JRP still trying to be not a run-first quarterback, but he really is. He was making progressions. He will not have the time that he had this week where he's sitting back there for 4 or 5 seconds just scanning the field. I think he needs to be careful with his double clutching or double pumping, right? Because he kept double pumping and that got him in trouble. He took that one sack that was just like straight, like it was like you could see the guy coming for like 8 seconds and he trucked him. So there was a little hesitation. He was late and it got better during the game. He was late on a lot of his throws. And then the one he threw into double coverage. So all of that being said, the man still completed 71% of his passes, including 2 drops. One again from Baker. Baker's got to clean that up.
I think he might be in his head a little bit.
That was my comment too in the text thread is I think he's in his head a little bit about this. So I hope this doesn't become a thing. I hope he's out there on the jugs machine, just catching balls and doing his thing. I like the way we played the RPO. I like the fact that Timmy, he can throw pretty well on the run. So that was exciting. The big thing next week is he's just not going to have as much time. So how does he react to that? Does he tuck the ball and run a little bit more because of that? Or does he wait it out? Does he climb the ladder? He didn't really climb the ladder very much. He should have done a little bit more of that at times. But you saw him run left and right. His release is just weird to me. He releases at the top and he kind of flicks his wrist. And so to me, it's a weird release. However, he proved out what we said last week. He's got a dynamite arm. I mean, just like he can throw the ball. It reminds me of Holman throwing the ball like 3/4 of the field in the ECU game. If you need the guy to throw 60 yards, he can do it. So that was exciting to see. He had that long throw to Baker. He had the Kobe. The big thing is, with him, I want to see how he's going to do with an offensive line that may not play as well against a true former conference champion defense that brings a lot of their players back. Now, they don't bring everybody back, and we'll talk about that in our preview, but I'm excited to see how he does. Overall, I think he did really, really well coming in as a backup. He got his sea legs. He threw the ball fairly well and 71% with a couple of drops. You can't really ask for much more on 20 passes or 28 passes. So excited about that, but it was against Villanova. All right. So next thing on our list is the offense is cooking. So just like Rice cooked Houston last week, the offense was the offense was cooking. Number 1 in the nation in yards. My one comment on that was we were getting cute in the red zone again, Trey. Triple reverse. I mean, we can move the ball. We can run the ball and we can pass the ball.
That's the key.
We could
you
do
can
both.
Run the ball. But, to me, if you can run the ball, you don't need trick plays on 3rd and 2, 4th and 1, because just run the ball, get downhill. That's all you need to do. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, that's fine. And I was excited to see Johnny Richardson make his cut. So he clearly got coached up on that this game. He was not waiting on that. There was one where Timmy could have pulled it up the field one gap sooner, and he would have gotten a first down, but he kind of waited a little too long. But other than that, the offense, really, I've got a lot of confidence in their ability to run the ball. And by extension, that gives us the opportunity with our sets to be able to pass the ball in that RPO. We're playing a more traditional RPO with Timmy. Yeah. I think that bodes well for us. The other thing was we saw Dylan Risk. We were asking about that or thinking that we would see him. We saw him for almost a full quarter, and he had a very DG sock boy-esque pass that was just a beautiful pass that was dropped. Well, that would have been a sure TD. But the man has a cannon of an arm too, and his touch on those passes was phenomenal. It was a rainbow pass, which we were used to with DG, but it was just a beautiful pass. So, we were wondering what we were going to see out of him. And yes, it was an FCS team, but he managed it well. He was kind of awkward running, but he moved out of the pocket and ran a few times to pick up a first down. And he managed the game pretty well. So, the coaches have been talking him up. He's a true freshman. He's like 18, 19-year-old kid. And he played well in his first action. I was very, very happy with how he passed the ball. All right. As far as, I forgot to mention my confidence in Himmy. I'm going to say confident with an asterisk. I think he will play up to his competition. So I'm excited to see. And he was also, remember that fumbled snap that we had going, that low snap that hit the ground, he picked it up and made something out of nothing. I don't think JRP or Mikey Keene or DG does anything with that. I don't think any of those three would not have been able to make a positive out of that. So, everybody said he's got that twitch, he's got that something extra, and he showed it there. Josh, thoughts on the offense?
It looked good from the seats. I mean, it really did. Every single piece of it. The running backs looked solid. RJ Harvey has always looked solid. The only thing that I can really even think of as a problem are some of the overthrows that I'm just going to chalk off to rust for now, and we'll see what happens next week. And sometimes there was some questionable play calling, but I think we've beaten that dead horse. But it looked good. It looked like I'm going to say 2017 as a offense. Let's see what happens. Obviously, the rest of the year. I'm not talking about how we finish that year, because who knows what the future holds for us now. But everything looks like it's pretty much humming. Nothing has really gotten our way other than ourselves. And I really think even maybe this week, the only thing that possibly could get in our own way might be ourselves too again. So it was fun to watch.
Yeah, I do think the way that we're moving the ball is very 2017-esque, yes. Although we're doing it in a different way. Yeah. So, the question is going to be, what do we do? Can we do that when we're behind? Because that's really what the 2017 team did. That it was special, was no matter what the situation was, they came back. And Trey, when we get to you, I'd love to hear, a little anecdote from you on that. Yep. Alan, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the offense is 2017. Like it feels so much smoother than last year. Like you felt there was so much just stalling last year, and 2021 and 22, a lot of the offense would stall out, and there was a lot of times where I just didn't feel confident in the offense. It was it yo-yoed a lot last year. This year, we've had at least 530 yards of offense in every game. Now 2 games with 600 plus. I know we know the competition hasn't been top tier yet, but it feels like we're able to move the ball through the air, on the ground. And that's the big thing to me this year is the passing just feels I feel a lot more confident, and I feel a lot better. Last year, it felt like we had to just rely on the run game because the pass wasn't there, whether it was JRP's deficiencies and, whatever, the wide receivers were all new last year and just, whatever the case was. But this year, just the offense feels just so much smoother. And I like some of the play calling a little bit better. Some of the, the Hinshaw effect there, I think we're seeing. And yeah, I mean, I feel really confident. Just, it feels like every drive we're moving the ball. Like no matter what, we may punt on a few, but we've been pretty much, moving the ball at will and scoring at will, besides that Boise game, which were all self-inflicted wounds for the most part. So it feels like each game we could have had 40 plus to this point. So I'm really pleased with the way that they're, spreading the ball around. The offense is going really fast still. So yeah, it does mirror 17 in a lot of ways. And I'm excited to see how it plays against stiffer competition.
Yeah, we can definitely go fast or slow. We aren't stuck in one
year,
one speed, right? Because depending on what the time is or what the opponent's doing, we can drive down the field with our running game and eat up clock, or we can go fast when we want to. And by and large, there haven't been a whole lot of mistakes there. So that's super exciting. Trey Neal, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, you guys are alluding to it. That just to reference from a defensive player for 2017, we felt like nobody could ever stop our offense. We thought the only people that could stop the offense was the offense, whether it was we make a bad mistake, we fumble the ball, McKenzie makes a bad read, something like that. I don't think we ever had a point, or I didn't feel like it, like there was a point where we're getting confused by the defense, or the defense just has this mastermind game plan that is just stalling us out. We felt that every game, and I think you're seeing that now. Now, to preface, we have a full season of 2017 to look back on. I will be honest and say that I think it's going to get a little bit tougher than we had it in conference play, because the competition through conference play will be a little bit stronger. Granted, we played a good USF team. We played a strong competition. I just think it might be different in the Big 12, because I think
Trey,
what's
cows.
Have it. We had a strong competition, but there were a lot of games that we just boat race teams. I don't think we're going to have this luxury in the Big 12, just my gut feeling. But
dude, the way Baylor's playing, the way Houston's playing, we might have some boat races out there.
Two of them. I don't think that, I don't think Kansas State's going to be a boat race. I don't think West Virginia is going to be a boat race. I don't think Oklahoma for sure. But like
OSU will be.
OSU might, yeah. Actually, the way you're saying
that's three boat races already out of the remaining season. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
we don't know if it's going to be a boat race.
Yeah, but yeah, I think this offense is clicking. I think that these guys are moving the ball at ease, really. The only thing stopping them is, again, like 3rd down and 2, we're calling a trick play for no reason. Maybe we throw a pick or drop passes, like things like that cause a pick, things like that, which, again, I don't chalk that up to, oh, wow, that was a great defensive scheme by the other team. And again, it's a small sample size, but as of right now, I have no problem saying that they're moving the ball with ease, similar to how we were in 2017.
Yeah, the biggest thing for me is us getting behind because we're making mistakes and then having to not play our game. That's number one. And number two, turnovers causing us to get behind and not being able to play our game the way we want to play it. So I agree with you there. I think those are the two, poisons for the season offensively, if we can handle that. And red zone, obviously. Yeah. We can move the ball all we want. We can get 600 yards per game. If we can't punch it in because we're getting cute or whatever, it's whoever has the most points at the end of the game that wins it.
Yeah, exactly. Not the most yards. And I think one thing that we haven't seen from this team yet is, again, when they become one-dimensional, can they become a one-dimensional team? I think there were times in that 2017 team where we'd get down 7 points, 10 points, and we just have to, hey, we're about to drop back and just pass. Or we get up, 10, 14, and we got to just play the clock and be slow. I think, Roger, you were alluding to, we can play both ways. And I think that's probably the only thing I want to see is how do we fare when we're behind maybe 10 points with 10 minutes to go in the fourth? Do we just start freaking out and airing the ball out? Or do we stay to the plan, stay methodical, do that? How do we do when we're up, 10 points with 5 minutes left with the ball? Are we just, again, going to get cute and run trick plays and throw the ball around? Are we going to chew the clock out, run, use our big backs? I think that's something that, will put them, to me, in that 2017 tier as well. But as of right now, we haven't seen it. So from what I've seen, they're there. And I don't have a problem saying that.
All right, awesome. Next, we kind of alluded to Kobe Hudson this week. Second really big week. Well over 100 yards both weeks. What do we think of Kobe Hudson's hot start? Can he continue that? Has he become wide receiver one? I will say this, not if Baker has anything to say about it. He obviously stole a TD this week. So, other than stealing a TD, and we're joking around,
Yeah.
Baker's a great receiver.
Yeah.
I don't want, we've talked about the drops and whatever. He's a great receiver and he's going to be great. And he showed some stuff that we haven't seen, in a long time as far as contorting your body and acrobatic catches. I can't remember for some reason the guy's name. He was an NFL wide receiver. He was on the 2013, 2014 team from New York, Trey something. He was a receiver. No, it wasn't Trey Nixon.
Trey Nixon was 17.
Yeah. No. Not Trey Nixon. I know Trey. I actually have a pair of his gloves sitting in my
the receiver that he reminded me similar kind of as far as contorting his body to catch is like Traquan Smith. He's the one.
Traquan Smith. That's what I was trying to say.
That's 17. Yeah, he's 17.
Yeah.
Was he 17?
Yeah,
he
was the same class as me. Yeah, he came in 2014 and then 2017.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. 2013, 2014. Because he was the one receiver in 2015 that did
his freshman year was 15.
He was the offense in 2017.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or 2014 or 2015. Yeah. He was the offense. That's what he reminds me of as far as that. Now, Traquan, he was a basketball player. He could do windmill dunks. Like we'd see him do that at the rec.
Don't do that. Don't Holman it, people.
Yeah.
But Javon, he can contort his body again and make some freak show kind of catches for sure.
Yeah. So I don't want this to become that we're beating on Javon, because we're not.
No.
At all. He's a great receiver and it's a great 1-2 punch. Javon's going to get I do think Kobe's benefiting from Javon's rep coming into the season
100%.
Because the way that we're doing our schemes, the way that we're setting up our schemes, and the way the defenses are playing him, making sure if it's a single high safety, they're going towards his quarter of the field.
Yeah,
there's things that they're doing that's opening the door for Hudson. Eventually, they'll start putting bodies on Hudson, and that'll open the door for Javon Baker again. Yeah. So, I don't want this to sound like we're talking bad about him. Yeah. But Kobe's taking advantage of his opportunities right now. From what the coaches have said, he's done a really, really good job of working on fundamentals, because his fundamentals were weak in route running, how he was catching passes, etc. And he's worked really, really hard, and it seems to be paying off. So any other thoughts on Kobe Hudson, guys?
Go ahead.
No, I think I think talent-wise, Javon Baker is clearly the wide receiver one, but could Kobe Hudson be the wide receiver one from maybe like a stats perspective? I certainly think it's possible. Yeah, you probably have defenses zeroing in on Baker, which is opening the door for Hudson, like you said. But I mean, Hudson is really taking this opportunity and running with it, I think, more than last year. I think last year, I don't want to say he was like a letdown last year because he was the team leader in touchdown receptions, but it felt like he could have done more. He came from Auburn the prior year where he led the team in receptions and touchdowns and yards. So when you talk about leading an SEC team and then coming over to UCF, I was like, oh wow, this guy should easily be the wide receiver. Yeah, exactly. Should be the wide receiver one, especially when at that point Baker had done nothing at Alabama yet, right? So we didn't know much about Baker. And now, Hudson to me is kind of living up to that billing. I mean, he already has more than half of his yards from last year through 3 games this year. So he's on pace to shatter his yards that he had last year. He's averaging 21.7 yards per catch, which is a career high. And he's definitely on pace to get more receptions than last year. So I think he's done a lot better job of getting yards after the catch this year too. It seems like a lot of those aren't just like, balls that he's catching super deep. He's like, getting 15-yard catches and taking them for 30 or 40. So I think he's been stellar so far. There's nothing to do with Baker.
You know where that comes from? It comes from route running.
Yeah.
No, I'm 100%.
Yeah.
Like
he's creating a lot of the separation out of his routes, which is allowing him to get the yard after the catch.
100%.
Right.
That's the total difference. Before he would stop, turn, there's the ball, he's tackled, right? Now he's changing up his cuts, he's doing double moves, he's doing other things that are getting him free that he was not doing last year. If you watch the game film, he was not doing that last year. So that's a huge, huge advantage. And remember, guys, we had a UCF Hall of Famer and former NFL player as a wide receivers coach that I would love to bring back someday. Trey, and you know who I'm talking about. Yeah. So, that's what you saw out of our receivers. You didn't see that last year. You didn't see that the year before. You see it this year. So it's clearly a focus.
And the numbers don't lie. I'll pull my Allen hat on. He's a top 15 receiver in total yards in the country right now. In top 25 in average yards. I mean, and he has less actual receptions than the other 13 guys above him. So he's putting in work. Catches, yak, everything. He really is. And honestly, so your question was, is he wide receiver 1? Yes, until they double team him. Right? Until that starts happening. And then just like when Tristan Hill was taking it for the team, right? And opening up things for the defensive line.
That's not all Tristan Hill was doing. He was taking off plays too. Come on, bro. Let's be real.
Yes, but he was making the line a little bit better when he was on for the rest of the team. And I don't think Kobe's taking plays off. I think it's so annoying when there is so much effort for Baker getting downfield to throw a block and the guy kind of turns like this right into a block in the back that probably wouldn't have happened if he didn't move, right? So he's doing some amazing work. He is the number 1 wide receiver right now. And honestly, if they want to start shifting over that way, guess who's going to probably pick up the slack? Right. So I think going all the way back to the top of the hour, when Trey was saying why are we cute? We have all this around us. This is the case in point. And we're forgetting about I'd say 3 to 4 running backs at this point. I don't know who's going to be playing next week. Right. But at least 3, maybe 4.
Well, Bowman got hurt.
Yeah.
So did McDonald.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Maybe we'll see MAR next later on this week. But what I'm saying is you have all this around you. What's with the key? So maybe it's just for film, but I just don't see it. Anyway, so yes, he's definitely wide receiver number 1 right now.
Alan, did you have anything else that you wanted to say? Because we kind of went off on a tangent and you were still going. So I apologize on that. Josh just kind of ran with the football there.
No, I just basically, I was just saying that I think Kobe's made some really big improvements from last year. And yeah, it's an excellent 1-2 punch. I think even like O'Keefe leaving also has, O'Keefe was kind of like a target monster, even though, he wasn't, necessarily getting the long ball. He had a lot of those like slants and small catches and things like that. So I think that's even opened up. Yeah, and opened up the door for just more targets for Kobe, and he's taken advantage of them. And I think he's been, I think we have one of the best 1-2 wide receiver duos in the country.
Well, that's saying a lot. Okay, so continue on, Alan, with your thoughts on Kitler replacing Metcalfe. We kind of mentioned that earlier. What were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, look, Metcalfe came over from Stanford, and From the beginning of his transfer, he was talked about as a guy that was going to land the starting center job. But, through camp, it was a three-way race between him, Schmidt, and Kitler. But look, Metcalfe has been drawing a lot of having a lot of penalties called against him, and it got to a boiling point, this week, and he got pulled for Kitler, and I think it was the right move. And what's exciting too is it's been a long time since UCF has had a underclassman that was recruited by UCF have a starting role. I mean, really, it's the last 3 years, essentially, they've relied on all transfers outside of a few guys, Pirouette and Sam Jackson, a couple of these guys. But for the most part, they've just been recycling and getting new transfers, which has worked out to a degree. And they've gotten some good transfers. But it's nice to see a guy that could be with us realistically for the next 3 or 4 years now have a starting role. And he was fairly highly recruited out of high school. So, yeah, I think that was probably
the last person that was that way.
What do you mean?
our former center that is now in Miami.
Yeah,
correct. Yeah, exactly. Matt Lee. So yeah, no, I think he, that was the right move. I mean, at the end of the day, Metcalfe wasn't getting the job done, but we have depth at center more than anything. I think that it proves that to be able to bring him in, and he had a good, whatever last quarter and a half there, however long he played. So I think it was the right move.
All right. Awesome. Gentlemen, did you have anything else to add on that?
I'll just say that whole next man up type of thing with Kittle is wonderful, because I don't think we would have this level of depth years ago. I think that's a testament to both recruiting and what you can do when you get to the Big 12 and kind of the new normal, if you will, of football. But we have depth. We have more depth than I think we've had in a while. And it's nice because it's not like JRP is a great case in point. One person goes down, and you're like, oh, great. Who's next? And I don't think we have that at maybe one or two positions. We're like, well, I don't know who are on the twos that are great, right? But I think across the board, we're starting to see that build up. So to Alan's point, I really think it's great that, we have a transfer comes in, does well enough to get the starting job, has some issues. Quote number 2 comes in. So far, so good, right? So that's just, to me, it's wonderful, and it's great to see.
All right. Boomer is the other one. All right. Trey Neal, anything from your perspective on center?
No, I want to address the thing with Kobe Hudson though, and Javon Baker. I think
hold on. Oh wait, no, we're bringing you back. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So Javon Baker, as far as from a defensive standpoint, he's the number one of the team. While the stats might not show it, I think a lot of that has to do with how they're playing him. He's probably drawing the best corner with the help, like you said, Roger. If you're the post safety in the middle, you're probably leaning his way. That's what we would do to their best receiver and say, hey, other guys, you got to beat those guys one-on-one. So I think that's why we're seeing the emergence of Kobe Hudson statistically. Now, he's putting in the work. You can see a night and day difference from how he played last year to this year, and it's paying off. So now I think that just makes the offense more well-rounded. So once they're going to need to have to pick your poison. We just had our pick your poison segment at the end. That's what defense are going to have to start doing if Kobe Hudson continues what he's doing. Because, again, do you want to let Javon Baker beat you, who we've seen what he could do last year? Or are you going to let the new upcomer beat you? So I think that's, in my opinion, Javon Baker's the one because he's drawing the doubles. He's drawing the best corners. He's getting the coverage put over the top of him. And I think he's making everything else work out for those other guys.
All right, awesome. Since we're talking defense, and you played defense, our defense is held its third straight team to under 20 points. Lee Hunter pirouetted, and of course, we already mentioned Lee Hunter's belly flop. What are your thoughts on the defense so far?
Yeah, they're doing what they're supposed to do. Those guys are, again, I think everything starts up front. I'm a defensive back, so I want to say, the DB is the most important, but as far as making a sound defense, a great defense, it starts up front. If those guys, those big boys are running, hitting, playing with their hair on fire, I think everything else can fall from that, and I think that's what's happening. I think Lee Hunter, Trayvon Morris-Brash, Ricky Barber, All those guys that are up front, we saw a little bit of John Walker. All of those guys, if they can just keep on playing like maniacs, we're going to be all right. Because they're the reason that we creating these turnovers. They're the reason that we're stopping these teams in the run game. They're the reason that we have one passing yard, and I think going into the half. You can give it to the DBs as much as I would love to. But when you have, a second and a half to throw the ball because a 320-pound lineman's in the quarterback's face, we don't really have to have that much good of a coverage, when you're doing that. So I think the defense is playing well. I think if the D-line can keep on keeping on, we might have a special group, guys, because the DBs, those guys they're growing with the reps they're getting,
And this was done without Ricky Barber too, by the way.
Exactly. He didn't play. And I think with such a younger secondary, the more reps as a DB, the better you are, the more you've seen it, the different kind of styles you play. So having that D line as, they're taking over these games, you're letting the DBs grow. You're letting, Nakai Martinez start to play with more confidence. Now you see Braden Marshall play with a little bit more confidence. You're seeing the corners play with more confidence. So we've kind of complained about our corner play the last few years. Those guys are playing with a little bit more confidence.
But what they're doing, they're not just playing with confidence, but they're sitting on routes. You saw Nakai Martinez do that, get a pick, and he got a deflection the week before Villanova. He got that big deflection. And now you saw it with Braden Marshall too. So they're confident enough that they can read the play, that they're sitting on the routes, and that's going to lead to turnovers because Big Lee Hunter, not only is he making the quarterback uncomfortable, and then Selskar as well, and drop. Let's not forget about drop.
Yeah,
we'll talk about defense next. I'll talk about defense next, but drop as well, right? So we're getting the sacks, we're getting the pressures, but more importantly, there's been a lot of times where we were in the backfield that threw off the handoff between a running back and a quarterback. So, Boise did a little bit of a delayed handoff kind of play there versus a traditional bang bang, which threw off people's lanes. But when I'm watching these guys, they're in the backfield, they're disrupting plays more so than even just the sacks, more so than anything else. They disrupted plays, didn't give the quarterback time, and he had to pull the ball and roll out because they were there before he could hand off to the running back and let either the zone blocking scheme or the power blocking scheme develop.
Yeah, exactly. And you speak to the confidence that the DBs are now. They're sitting on routes. That's 1,000% confidence because if you think you're going to get beat, you're not going to sit on the route. You're going to, get in your back pedal a little too soon. You're going to start turning and running a little too soon. These guys are sitting on routes because they're trusting their technique. They trust that they won't get beat. And, of course, you trust those big boys up front to cause havoc, wreak havoc. And I think that's, again, it all works together with defense. On offense it does as well, but defense even more because you're playing at a disadvantage because you don't know what the offense is doing. Offense knows what they're doing. We don't know what they're doing, so we're reacting. So if everybody's being disruptive, it all helps out everybody, all 11 guys on defense.
All right. Alan, thoughts?
I love what the defense is doing this year. I think, before the season, new defensive coordinator Addison Williams talked about being more aggressive, and we're seeing this. We're no longer fading 10 yards back and, giving up these, chunk plays or easy first downs. I think the secondary is a early candidate for most improved position group. There's still some stuff going on there that's not perfect, but they've improved dramatically, like all the things that Trey said. And it's great to see some of these young guys like, Nakai Martinez stepping up and, even like Corey Thornton, not a young guy, but I thought he's played a lot better this year too.
Definitely.
A lot of hidden plays that people did not see from him. Where he's in the backfield coming downhill and disrupting from that side too.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And look, we held Villanova to 1 of 12 on third down. Only 228 yards. I mean, their quarterback only had one completion in the first half. They only had 84 rushing yards. So overall, it was a great performance. I thought we did a great job getting after the quarterback. Trayvon Morris Brash, I'm so glad he came back. I mean, he's just taken his game to another level. I mean, last year he was first team all conference, but he looks even better this year. I mean, he already has 6.5 tackles for loss. I mean, that's like top 4 in the country. I mean, he's like on pace for like a ridiculous amount of tackles for loss this year. And just overall, I think the D line they've gelled together. I mean, second straight year of those same 4 guys, but the depth is really showing. Like, look at Matthew Alexander. He's having a great season as a guy that's getting rotated in a lot. And then, the DBs, they're all playing pretty well. I mean, Nakai is really growing. I think some of the transfers like Jairo Wilson have been pretty solid. John Walker had 2 tackles for loss in that game. So overall, I've been really pleased with the defensive performance. It feels like they're a lot more aggressive. They're getting after the quarterback. I'd like to see the turnovers still. We haven't won. We've only won the turnover battle once, and that was this last week with just 1 turnover. But overall, they're not giving up a lot of like chunk plays.
But that was not because they weren't getting turnovers. That was because the offense was handing the ball to people in the end zone. You know what I mean? That's a little bit different.
Yeah, that's completely fair. But overall, I've actually, I mean, look, we're giving compliments on both sides of the ball. It feels like it just like through 3 games last year, I didn't feel this way. Granted, last year, we had like Louisville in week 2 and a couple of tougher games compared to this year, but it just everything on both sides of the ball feels smoother. And it feels like we kind of upgraded our OC and DC with Addison Williams on DC and then OC with Hinshaw. It feels like we've just kind of improved the scheme, and obviously the personnel is better. I think we've added a lot of talent and we have more depth as we're in our first year in the Big 12. But the defense I think has been a bright spot so far.
Yeah, wait till the future because those recruiting classes are nuts. I told everybody 2 to 3 years for them to really come to fruition.
Oh, the defense I think is going to be better than the offense in a few years.
Oh, I agree. All right, Josh, any final thoughts?
I had a problem figuring out what I was going to choose as my score for this week's game because I feel like the defense is doing so good, but Kansas State puts up a good amount of points.
Yeah.
So that's how good I think the defense is, and I kind of like, even now I'm thinking I'm not going to change it, but I'm thinking, are they really going to score that much? The defense has been wonderful, and I agree with that idea that it's been upgraded, and a lot of it's both personnel. Maybe it's a little bit scheme too. There are things to clean up. Trey already talked about that, but Louisville was a great note. That Louisville game felt like we should have won that game the entire game, but somehow we figured out a way to lose it. And
get our quarterback injured.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So this is where I think we're at. I think Kansas State is a perfect, similar representative example of what's really going to happen. Because I think Boise State is probably a lot better than we're giving them some credit for. I think in Mountain West, they're going to do well. Kent State's actually probably better than we give them credit for, too, in their own own conference.
Let's save the K-State analysis for the K-State analysis section.
Well, but what I'm saying is this defense is solid. And I think we're going to, when we talk about K-State, I said Kent State, I didn't mean K-State. But I think this defense is quite good. And I don't think there's too much we really need to, after this week, we'll really know how good they are. And I still think they are solid as of right now.
Great.
All right. So for me,
I do think that this might be the barometer to see where we're at defensively.
Yeah.
Well, it is. I mean, we're playing the conference champions from last year. I mean, that's nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it will be the barometer. If we do well here, I mean, we really will know what we have. Because I hate saying but, we'll talk about that on the K-State analysis because I've got some things to say there. As far as defensively is concerned, the team has done well. If we can keep this up, the biggest I think we fixed the linebacker play from last week. The biggest thing I'm going to be looking at is how do our defensive backs hold up in the Big 12, because it's traditionally been a more offensive driven and ball out air raids, type of conference, less known for defense. So I'm excited to see how they do against those teams, because we're really going to need them, especially in the linebackers. If you're playing spreads, you're playing four wides. The linebackers are going to have to cover some receivers, so it'll be interesting to see how they do in conference. However, I do agree that it is looking like a solid defense. All right. Injury concerns. Obviously, Alec Holler. We mentioned the two running backs earlier. JRP will not be back this week. I don't know. There was some crazy tweet out there about somebody saying he was going to be back this week. He's not. He's not going to be back until Oklahoma. He was walking without his bionic leg there for a little while. He looked good walking around. He's definitely mobile. Doesn't look like he's hurting too bad. It's interesting that he had that on, because I thought it was a groin strain, but with something like that, you're talking about stability of the leg, or I don't know if it was an ankle, and they just didn't want to put him in a cast just to keep that stable or what. But that was kind of interesting. Other than that, Gamage is another person we kind of have to look out for to see whether he's going to make it back. I think he got poked in the eye, actually. So it's going to be interesting to see when he can make it back. And, Bullischmidt, we talked about, and DeJordan Mask is the other one that's been out as well. So, gents, do you have anything on injuries? Any concerns? Alan, let's start with you.
None of them seem super serious, obviously, other than JRP. But, like Ricky Barber was out, but he was like dressed or whatever. Most of these seem kind of like, nagging, kind of like more like a game to game, week to week type of thing. I'm not overly concerned about any of them besides obviously JRP. But, I think we have the depth to withstand it. The two running backs, I saw a McDonald injury. He kind of limped off, but he looked fine. Bowman, we'll see there, but that's what we talked about at the beginning of the year, where the running back room is one of the deepest in the country. So I think we'll be fine there. Most of them don't seem super serious. So it's just about having the depth. And I think if anything, a game to get rest was this past game against Villanova, like for Ricky Barber and DeJordan Mask for some of these less serious injuries. So I think they should be able to return, maybe this week or the following week. And then we do have like a nice, well-placed bye week, coming up in the next few weeks. So I think most of them should be back in the next couple of weeks. So I'm not overly concerned with any of the current injuries.
All right. Anybody else? I got a lot of no's. So I think Josh is just excited to get to his new session. But before we do that, we've got a new segment here for Alan. It's Alan's Oxymoronic fun stats, because fun and stats is not usually put together, but Alan's going to try to make it fun, or we can say that it's fun for Alan. I don't know, but it's Alan's Oxymoronic fun stats. So go ahead, Alan. What are your stats for this week?
All right. So you guys know I love stats. So I have a couple individuals and a couple of team stats. So some of them went over, but Kobe Hudson, he's number 2 in the Big 12 in receiving yards and top 15 in the country. Tremont Morris-Brash is number 4 in the country in tackles for loss and number 1 in the conference. RJ Harvey is tied for number 3 in the country in total touchdowns. Johnny Richardson is top 20 in yards per carry. And then Boomer is one of just 2 Big 12 kickers to have a perfect field goal percentage so far. As far as the team, as we all know, we have the number 1 offense. We are top 10 in yards per play. We are 4th in the country in first downs. number 2 in rushing offense, obviously number 1 in the Big 12, top 30 in third down defense, top 20 in passing yards allowed. So our secondary has been pretty good at limiting that. And then we are number 2 in the Big 12 in scoring defense, number 4 in the Big 12 in yards allowed, and then number 4 as well in the Big 12 for passing yards allowed. So I thought those were all some key stats. We rank towards the top of the conference in a lot of those stats, and nationally we're looking pretty good in some of those stats as well.
All right, awesome. Thank you. I love stats as well. Well done. Let's keep those coming, and maybe we can start pulling some of those stats for our folks that we're going against for the week. So I don't know how hard that is for you to pull together, but that might be interesting too. All right, Josh, also not to be outdone, wanted a new segment, so he's kind of been doing this on the fly. So Josh's new segment is called Josh's Sometimes Funny Fact of the Week. So Josh, what is your sometimes funny fact of the week this week?
Okay, I wouldn't say fact. I'm trying to try trivia, but let's see. So Kansas State's coach, Chris Kleiman, right? He was at the head coach of North Dakota State. We should all know FCS team, really, 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 really good. He was the head coach from 2014 to 2018. UCF was also pretty good in some of those years, specifically 2017 and 2018, as Trey well knows. So during the 2017,
Trey doesn't know about 2018.
He knows about. He can look at a website. So during 2017 and 2018 seasons, including playoffs for FCS and including bowl games for UCF and FBS teams, who had more losses, North Dakota State or UCF?
I'm going to say UCF.
Yeah, I feel like North Dakota State's lost like 2 games that year. They never lost.
So the answer is a little bit of a trick. It's tied. In those 2 years, in 2017 to 2018, both North Dakota State and UCF lost 1 game each. North Dakota State won national championships in both years, and I think lost 1 game in 2017, so we beat them there. But they were undefeated in 2018, and then the season after that, he got hired at Kansas State.
Okay. So not a trivial stat, but rather a fact. So there you go. There's my dad joke of the week. And all right, since we don't have sound effects because it's video. That being said, Alan, we're going to swing it back your way because you're going to help us out with PFF, something we all love. I will say this, John Walker, you guys mentioned him earlier, week 3 college football team of the week on the defense. So he had a whale of a game. Let's go ahead and go with the PFF. What you got?
I'm sorry. Let me hold on, I'm bringing it up.
Oh,
I know, my bad.
I gave you like a minute or 2 of lead up. It was such a good trivia that you just dropped it off of your web browser.
I know. I didn't know I was doing the PFF. My bad. So hold on. All right, give me 1 second here. I know the PFF looked really. I know Timmy McClain from reading it was actually had a score of over 90, which was, I believe, the second straight week that we had a JRP had also a 90 in the previous week when he got injured. Okay, here we go. So let's start with the defensive grades on PFF. So as everyone knows, 90 and above is considered elite. 80 to 89 is great. 70 to 79 is good. 60 to 69 is average to above average, and 50 to 59 is below average, and anything below that is piss poor. So,
wow.
So defensively, this was our best game of the season. Overall, we ranked at an 82, so Boise were 65, Kent State we were 77. So this is by far our best grade of the season. Take a guess as who was the number 1 ranked player on the defense as a whole.
Martinez.
Oh, you said it all at the same time. What was it?
Nakai Martinez.
Okay.
Josh.
Lee Hunter, but I don't think so this week.
Okay.
I don't think it's either one. I think this week defensively, I'm going to say John Walker as far as
That's
rating.
right. It was John Walker, and Lee Hunter was number 2 though. So
Okay.
John Walker graded out at a 92. So he had an excellent game. Lee Hunter was an 85, and then Salazar was 76. So three of our three defensive linemen rated in the top 3, and then you had Jason Johnson at a 76. Tremont Morris-Brash was at a 72. Nakai ranked pretty well too at a 71. So looks like mostly it was our secondary and our defensive line that ranked there at the top. So then it kind of breaks it down by each position. And then there's a couple other like things like the pressure tracker, which is a combination of sacks, hits, and hurries, which Lee Hunter and Tremont Morris-Brash had the most of those. Top corner was Brandon Adams. The top safety was Nakai Martinez. Top linebacker was Jason Johnson. Obviously, the top tackle was John Walker, and our top end was Josh Salazar, all who ranked really damn well in this game. So that was good to see. And then let's get over to the offense, which I'm searching through this right now. So we need some music while I'm searching here. Okay,
I feel like we need like the circus music. So Alan, for next week, we need multiple tabs. That's what we need to do.
Yeah,
tabs, so you can look at both of them.
I got
I got it up here.
15 tabs open now. I mean,
I don't know. I do have a lot of tabs open, but all right. So this, similar to the defense, this also was our best ranked game on offense. We graded out at an 84. Boise, we're at an 80, and Kent State, we were 75. So we have improved every single game so far. As I already said, the top-ranked player was Timmy McClain with a 91. So why don't we just take a guess at who the second best player was on offense?
Trey?
I'll say Kobe Hudson.
Okay.
Josh?
Timmy?
He's number
first?
1, dude. You got to listen. You got to listen when you're on the podcast, bro.
Baker.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, I'm gonna double down on Kobe.
All right. The answer is actually Marcellus Marshall, our left guard. He graded out at an 84. Funny enough, Dylan Risk was number 3, also at an 84. I guess they.
The crazy thing about Marshall, though, is he was the guy who kept getting the flags the first few games. We switch out the center, and amazingly enough, no flags this week.
Correct. And that's a big factor in the score.
100%.
So Kobe Hudson, though, was number 5 with a 76. Baker was actually 69, which isn't too bad, but he kind of ranked more in the middle of the pack. Some other kind of highlights: Caden Kitler, who replaced Metcalfe, as we talked about. He ranked out at number 6 with a 74, so he had a really good game. Then there's a couple way they break down this. So first with the offensive line, pass blocking, Marcellus Marshall ranked number 1. Run blocking, Marcellus Marshall also ranked number 1. Talon Grable ranked 2 in both those categories. So he had a pretty strong game there at left tackle. Timmy with the 91. Then they have the stat of passing pressure grades. So when the pocket was clean, Timmy ranked 90. Under pressure, he ranked 75. Not blitzed, a 90, and when blitzed, an 80. For his kind of passing stats on deep balls, 20 plus yards, he was 3 of 5 for 82 yards and a touchdown. On medium, which is 10 to 19 yards, he was 4 of 6 for 91 yards and a touchdown. And then on short throws, he was 10 of 13 for 127 yards. And then
those are phenomenal stats. And the big thing there, and I do want to mention this, I think PFF does take out drops off of that stat as well. So if you're doing the math and trying to calculate it at home, folks,
we had 3 total drops.
Yeah. So there was 3 drops again this week. So again, we had that problem all last season, and we were talking about JRP and the drops. And everybody was like, oh, it's how he's spinning the ball or blah, 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 or whatever. No, our receivers just aren't catching the ball. They are Division I FBS Power 4 receivers. If it hits both your hands, you should be catching that ball.
Yeah.
Period.
So there was one drop from Kobe, one drop from Javon, and then one drop from Jalen Griffin. RJ Harvey graded out as the best runner. And actually, Tim McClain ranked number 2 there for rushing grades. Wide receiver, the number 1 was the walk-on, one of the coach's sons, Cam Ingram, who came in there after McDonald got injured. He ranked out as the best wide receiver, even though I know he was playing running back. He must have had a couple of catches out of the backfield. And then Kobe ranked number 2. Chauncey Magwood finally got some play in this game, so he ranked just around a 60. Max Haller, Alex's brother, also got in this game. And then Xavier Townsend ranked bottom in rushing and wide receiver. He actually ranked as poor for both. He kind of disappeared.
How many targets did he have, though? Because I know he had that one drop, but that
not a lot of targets. Doesn't say, but I don't know how many.
Yeah, I don't think he got very many targets this week. Yeah.
So, but overall, those are the PFF grades for this week. So good to see Marcellus Marshall. Especially after a couple, I guess mediocre games, he did really well. So he's starting to show that all conference material that he was last year.
All right, awesome. So I think that'll do it for the stats. We've now put everybody to sleep. And we kind of injected Josh's sort of fun fact in there to kind of liven things up. Alan, all jokes aside, great work. I love stats, and I think stats tell you a lot about how a football game went and why it went the way that it did. So excited about that. Okay, so for this week, we take on K-State. As y'all may remember, we did play them in 2010.
20,000
in the tornado game is what I'm going to call it. Those of you that were there were treated to a giant cloud that looked like Independence Day when the spaceship's coming into the atmosphere. So it was pretty ominous. They actually stopped play for a while. We had some challenges with we had the dreaded turf monster. Someone made a joke about, and I'm not even going to make it actually because, talking about sporting events. It was a tough game. We moved the ball. We should have won the game. We just made some mistakes in the red zone, which sounds awful familiar to this week. So, for me, I'm going to give you a little bit of a preview from my perspective on the game and my keys to the game. It is a +7 line in favor of KSU. They are playing at home, so 3 of those points are always given to the home team. So that means that Vegas and everybody is expecting, a 4-point game, which is a 1-score game. So tight game. It was originally, I think the line debuted at +8. So UCF fans definitely moved it. The biggest thing for me, on K-State is which QB is going to play. Their QB was hobbled last week against Missouri. He's a great QB who can actually run. He was hobbling around the field last week. Based on that injury, 2 questions come to mind. Why didn't they play a backup? Was it because it was a SEC game? We'll see if they think he's their best shot this week against us. If he's hobbled, I'm afraid for him, to be honest, because our D-line is going to get after it and he's not going to be mobile. If it is not him, they do have a 4-star freshman quarterback that they are excited about who has wheels. So he's very much a run-first quarterback. So, we do have some questions if you're, looking at them defensively. How are you going to attack them? Because they will be in two completely different quarterbacks. One that likes to pass, the other one that likes to run. I will say defensively, though, they also have 2 good running backs, but their O-line has had some challenges. They had a vaunted O-line that was expected to do well, did not do well against Missouri. What I expect from the quarterback position is whether their starter is hobbled or whether their starter is the freshman quarterback. They're going to be going with the short passing game, trying to get guys out in the flats or on slants, quick slants, trying to get that going. And I think they're going to play a lot of I formation type football, right? They're going to be giving us a big dose of the backs, which I think plays in our favor. But our defensive linemen are going to have to, especially the interior A gap, B gap guys, they're going to be contending with a lot of, different offensive blocking schemes. I don't see them doing a lot of zone because they're not they're north-south type running backs. They're not east-west running backs, but they may introduce some zone this week just simply to get some pressure off of that because we're going to be loading the box. The defense for KSU plays an odd front, which means they're playing a lot of 3-down linemen. And I think that actually plays to their strength. I think Timmy is going to be facing a lot of disguised blitzes and linebackers that are going to be blitzing. So they'll have one set formation that they're going to play out of, and they'll either bring a blitzer down and you won't know where it's coming from, or they'll drop that person out of that same formation into coverage. We, on the other hand, will try to run early so that they stack the box and have to bring those linebackers down to stack the box to stop the run. And if we can successfully do that, that'll open up our passing game in the middle of the field. So I'll expect some screens, which we haven't seen a whole lot of bubble screens or tunnel screens. So I'll expect some screens to kind of break that up if they're having success. If they're not having success with that, then I expect us to use our tight end in the middle of the field with Kobe to get them to break that up. And then when they back off, we'll hit them with a few long bombs if we can early on in a drive to try to loosen that defense up and keep them off of keep Timmy from having to diagnose the defense early, because they are going to try to confuse him. The other thing is they have their starting middle linebacker is out this week. Green, who is their Daniel Green, who is a big time player for them, and his backup is out this week. So they're going to have some linebacker issues. So I expect us to attack the ground game early and often to bring those linebackers up and open up the passing game for us. So that's kind of my my synopsis on what I expect out of the game. This is P4 level talent. This is, K-State, the last year's conference champions. They have brought a lot of talent back. They lost on a 61-yard field goal at Mizzou last week, which was the SEC's longest field goal in recorded history. So, I expect us to have a tough game of it. And we can't go into it. I think this is where Boise helps us. We can't go into a tough road environment and play mediocre. So, keys for us, make sure that we get that running game going to open up the passing game, bring those linebackers down. Also make sure that we are, scoring early and often to make sure that they're playing from behind. And number 3, our D linemen have got to take advantage of the O linemen. They've got great size, but if they play like they did last week, we're going to have a great day on defense. So, Trey, anything else you want to add to that?
No, yeah, I agree. I think probably the preview would be how do we fare again on the road, Big 12 game, conference champs. These guys are they're going to be playing for something. They just had a sour way to lose. To lose off of a 61-yarder is terrible. That's a terrible feeling just because, again, that was, like you just said, I think that was the longest kick in SEC history. So, again, those guys are going to come out to play. I think offensively we need to come out humming. That's probably my most important thing, because if they come out slow, if they come out sloppy, it could possibly be a long game. And I think that's what you don't want. You just want to again, of course, we want to blow everybody out. But realistically, we want to keep the game close so that when it does get to that fourth quarter, we can let our playmakers make plays. And I think that'll be the key.
All right. Josh?
Keys of the game? I will say this. I think we need to mirror some of what Missouri did. I think we need to do some deep throws. They attacked them for over 300 yards in passing, and I think we need to do the same thing, and we can do the same thing. We know we can. I think our D-line and O-line versus their O-line is going to be big, and whoever wins that is going to do well. I agree with Trey. We need to come out humming. We need to be, I wouldn't say aggressive, but we need to be confident and continue that confidence in whatever shape that looks like. And I put down here weather the storm, maybe literal, maybe figurative, who knows in Kansas State. But seriously, you never know what's going to happen, both literal weather-wise and how they're going to come out after that, just like, no longer ranked, right? No longer having that same positivity.
Aren't they taught? Are they?
No, they dropped
Florida.
They dropped
Florida
out.
replaced them. That's right.
Yes.
For some reason, Florida of all teams replaced them in the top 25.
So you have some of that going on too. And again, this is the Will Howard that won a Big 12 championship. It's not a Daniel Green that also won a Big 12 championship, right? So I agree with you very much, Roger. Like, is it Will Howard? Is it Avery Johnson? What QB are we going to get? How solid is that O-line? There's lots of questions, but if we weather that initial storm and all those things that K-State are going to put into that first quarter, I think we'll have a good game.
All right. Awesome. Alan, what are your thoughts on K-State?
Yeah, obviously big game for us. Our first Big 12 game. We want to come out and make a statement. And, it's going to be tough. They're coming off a heartbreaking loss. Maybe we can catch them off guard. But what I found interesting is they've gotten absolutely torched in the air through 3 games. I'm not even talking about just Missouri. Southeastern Missouri and Troy both threw for over 235 yards on them. And then Missouri came out and threw for over 300 yards on them. But interesting enough, their run defense has not given up over 70 yards all year. So their run defense is really solid. They gave up 6 rushing yards to Southeastern Missouri and then less than 70 to Troy and just over 70 to Missouri. So their run defense is pretty strong. So I agree with kind of, getting the ground game going to open up the pass because their secondary is shown to be very vulnerable. I mean, we talk about giving up 250 plus to an FCS school through the air and then getting torched by Missouri last week. And I think, that's a great spot for Baker and Kobe Hudson to have a really good game here. So we talk about Timmy's long ball, being a weapon for us. I think we have a real chance to exploit, the Kansas State secondary. So that's what I'm looking for. But I think, we need to open it up with the run game. We know how strong our rushing attack is. So I don't want to have to rely, on the pass game, especially if we want to get Timmy comfortable here is, get it to those running backs, get some short passes going to get him comfortable. But I'm really looking for them to exploit the secondary. And then the injury to their quarterback, that'll be interesting. Yeah, he was hobbled up. He's thrown one interception in each game this season. And Kansas State has actually only forced 2 turnovers all year. They didn't even force a turnover on Southeastern Missouri. So I think, winning this turnover battle is something we can do this game if we limit our turnovers. They're not great at doing that. And obviously they have some holes there in their with their DBs. So to me, I'm looking to win that turnover battle and then, take advantage of their kind of weak secondary and let's get their crowd out of it early. I mean, they're coming off a real heartbreaker. Last year they lost their last non-conference game before they went into conference play. So they're kind of following a similar script here. But I think, we've seen that the Big 12 is beatable. This game was a game that we kind of probably early circled on as a somewhat scary game. They were 15th in the country, defending champs of our conference. Tough way to enter the conference, but I think there's an opening here to go up and steal this game.
Yeah, number 4 running defense versus number 1 running offense. Or what are we now?
2.
2 running offense. We were number 1 last week, but still the number 1 offense in the country. So, I think a lot of people are overlooking us. We've heard it from a lot of different people. I think that K-State may be overlooking us. However, I'll say this. They have a bye week after our game. So they are not focusing on the next game. They are focusing on us, which means we're going to get their best shot this week. I expect it to be a good game. I do think we have a good shot at winning this game, a lot better shot than what we had thought at the beginning of the season. Okay, so Alan, where are we at? It's that time of the week for Pick Your Poison predictions. How did we do last week? And let's go ahead and start picking our poison.
All right. So obviously the final score was UCF 48, Villanova 14. I was way too aggressive with my 63-6 pick. But then we had Josh, who was 48-10. So looks like he definitely wins this one this week. Trey was fairly close at 49-7, and then Roger was also pretty close at 52-10. But I think Josh was spot on.
That's 4 points. 4 points for each of us, for Josh and me, because they scored 14.
Well, you had 52-10, and he had 48-10, right? So.
Oh, okay. So 8 points to 4. All right, fine.
And then Trey was.
I thought I had 14 for some reason. I don't know. I wasn't.
You were you got all 3 of you were close. I was, a little off here.
little off.
All
right.
We were all off the poison, so.
Yeah, pick your poison this week, Alan. What's your score prediction?
This week, man, before how I saw Kansas State play against Missouri, I probably was going to project a loss, if I'm being honest. But now seeing how they played and seeing how feels like we've gotten better each week, I'm going to go UCF. I'm going to go UCF 31, Kansas State 28 is my prediction here. So I think, Vegas line, like we said, is 7. So they're giving them 3 points. So I do think this is going to come down to a field goal. We've already gotten in a tight game this year with Boise and came away with the dub on the road. So we already kind of have a little bit battle tested. So I think we can pull this one off. I'm going to go 31-28. And my poison this week, I'm going to go back to Timmy. Just the last thing I want to see is him get overwhelmed in a big road environment. I mean, this is the biggest game of his career. Let's be honest. I mean, he was in no big games when he was at USC.
He was against us. He played us.
Well,
okay, he played pretty well.
Yeah.
I mean,
he played a ranked Cincinnati. He played a couple.
But the implications
for Cincinnati, big time.
Yeah, but they had 1 win or 2 wins, so they weren't really playing for anything. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So there was no implications. I mean, other than just winning the war on I-4. But I mean, like, this for us. I mean, who knows? I mean, we are a conference. We're still in conference contention, right? It hasn't started yet. So this game means everything as of right now. I mean, we're potentially playing for a way into the playoffs if we, win out. So this game has actually huge implications for us. So for me, it would be Timmy getting overwhelmed by the moment, getting forced into some early turnovers, and UCF getting, down big based on like a lot of just like Timmy's mistakes. He's overthrowing, he's getting turnovers. He's, getting blitzed and not able to get the ball out of his hands and just kind of fumbles away that first half, and then we're playing in a big hole, which puts even more pressure on him, is the last thing I'd want to see. And my hope is he comes out, real comfortable, and we're in a close game where, you feel like, he's doing the right things. It's going to be hopefully a back and forth matchup, and, he keeps us competitive is what I'm looking for. So the last thing I'd want to see is him just get overwhelmed and start making mental errors that just start, mountaining. Yeah, exactly. And then we kind of fumble the game away.
All right. Trey. And by the way, I will argue that we were their most important game of that season.
We were. I'm not. Yeah, we were.
We were there. We were their Super Bowl, and there was a lot of pressure because a lot of people were high on Timmy that year, and they had the Baylor transfer that got hurt. All right, Trey, what do you think?
Yeah, so I think I'm going to go kind of similar to Allen. I think you don't want to see the offense kind of implode. You don't want to see, a lot of false start penalties. You don't want to see turnovers. The ones that you can control now, if they go out and make a great play, hats off to them. But you don't want to see like a fumbled snap and they get the ball, like something's dumb where they just steal a possession. You don't want to see us, dropping wide open passes for touchdowns and then it goes and turns into a turnover. You don't want to see that. You don't want to see even plays like you make a great play, you get a holding call or a block in the back. You don't want to. I think that will be the worst thing is to see, we play the game and then we look back and be like, man, if this didn't happen, we could have won. Or man, if this didn't happen, look at the moment. I don't think you want to have that. I think that'll be my pick your poison, is just that kind of we beat ourselves kind of implosion. My score prediction, I think it'll be a good one. I think we're going to finally be able to see where we're at as a team. This Kansas State team, they lost to Missouri, but they're still a very good team, and like Roger, you alluded to, they have a bye week next week, so there's no looking forward. These guys are going to give it their all, and then they're going to have a full week to rest up, recover, so they're going to leave it out on the field. And they might have a little bit of bad blood from losing this last week. So I think it'll be 27. I'm going to say UCF 27, Kansas State 23. I think it'll be a close one.
Ooh,
27-23.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Lazar.
Hey,
hold on. Pop your collar for this one.
Oh God.
All right, here we go.
We're getting to spooky season, so I can be Dracula on the podcast. Great. So
now that you mention it, it does kind of look like that.
So my poison this week is similar to others, but I'm not going to just do Timmy. I put Timmy and the team rushes everything, not waiting for blocks to set up and RJ gets to the hole too quick. Timmy throws too fast because it's a tougher defense than he's experienced, right? The wide receivers make their cuts too fast. Like if people start speeding up themselves in the game in their minds, I think we're going to have some problems. Now, I definitely think Timmy is going to be a part of that, but I kind of agree with Alan here. Like before the Missouri game, before we saw Timmy, I'm like, we'll see, but this should be a competitive game. I can tell you what my heart says. What my heart says is we're going to crush them. But the reality is I just don't. And I do think, and my score kind of sets that. Like my score prediction is 37-31 UCF.
Whew.
And right, and my head is like, can this defense give up 31 points? And I don't think so, but it also depends on what comes out. What if this is an Avery Johnson team, right? Will Howard is out. He's out in the first quarter, and we're just not ready for what he does in the run game, right? So some of that pops in my head. What if this O-line gets more solidified as it should because it's experienced and our defense can't handle it? I really feel like there's no way we're giving up 31 points on defense, but it's just what my instinct says. So 37-31, I think we're going to be on the right side of this. I think it's going to be a lot more points than people expect. We'll see how far off I am.
That's funny. I was actually going to go with originally. My first thought was 38-27, but that's not what my prediction is for this week. It's funny that we're kind of close there. So pick my poison this week. I think I'm going to go the same, but the opposite of you, Josh. I think it is not rushing things. I think it's Himmy not being able to process things fast enough or holding the ball too long. I saw him do that again this game. I mean, he got better, but he was still a little bit late on his passes, and in his release. So getting that timing is always key, but he doesn't get as many snaps as the starter, right? Yeah. So, I think that's going to be my thing to watch. If he holds the ball too long, that pocket will collapse, and not seeing him, being able to climb the ladder. I saw him stand in the pocket, which was good. Yeah. I saw the offensive line give him a lot of time, against Villanova, but he's not going to have that. And I hope he doesn't think that he'll have that at K-State. So the coaches this week better be telling him, hey, you need to go through your progressions faster, because some of those progressions that you did have disappear very quickly if you don't anticipate where that receiver is going to be. So if they are confusing him with, what they're doing with their wide receiver, or not their wide receivers, their cornerbacks, and more importantly, their linebackers, then he may hold the ball a little too long. He will roll out, and he does that successfully, which I think is a good way to counter that. But they're going to be prepared for him this week, and it's just a different caliber of athletes. So for me, is he going to hold the ball too long? Is he going to make his decisions and his reads fast enough? Because we will be able to run the ball on them. I know they have a great running, defense, but I think the more that we bring them up and make them one-dimensional by bringing them up, the more those quick slants and those, dumps, those screens and those dumps to the running backs, slipping that running back is going to be, to get them into space is going to allow us to take advantage of that and then hit some long bombs. So that's my thoughts on it. For my final score prediction, I'm going to say 32-24. I think they'll score 24. The big wild card for me is the quarterback. I don't think either one of them will be at full capacity. So I think we catch them on an off week. If we have a turnover and they take advantage of it, with the running game, they're going to try to control the clock. They're going to play that style of football and try to ground and pound with their two running backs. So as long as we get a turnover or we don't have any turnovers, I think we'll have enough to score those 32 points. So 32-24 for me this week. All right. That was a well thought out segment this week, guys. Obviously we're not playing Villanova or Kent State. So, we're going to put a little bit more thought into that week by week. So, next segment on the show, we're going to give a little listener love. You guys gave us some love. We had an unexpected early review, 5-star review, but appreciated. So the first thing I did was to ask the guys if they had written the review somehow.
I didn't remember that.
So, I'm going to read this here for you guys. This is Waste My Time 379-302-202 $3. And his comment, or their comment, not his, sorry, is if you're completely obsessed with UCF football the way I am and are constantly looking for new inside info on the team, then this will be your new favorite podcast too. These guys have incredible insight and access and break everything down in an awesome way. They make it extremely entertaining. I'd like to think that's me and my bad dad jokes. And I'm so happy I discovered this podcast. They have former players from 2017. So Trey, obviously they like you for some reason, who break it down as from a player's perspective as well. Can't wait for the rest. So super excited about that. And also a little bit of love to Emptiness. That's MPTNESS4389, who posted this helpful hint. They said, I got to get out of that. Re3220. Thank you for giving us the timestamp on that. And baseball field turf. Yes, Cows did the full field turf, and I believe the other one was Cincinnati with the full field turf. Not sure if Houston has done that, but I'm sure we'll see this coming season. They did do it. I did verify that. Thank you for listening, number one, and also giving us feedback and knowledge and facts, right? We want you guys interacting, so please continue to do that. We appreciate both of you chiming in and hopefully that continues. So that's all the love for this week. Hopefully we have some more to talk about in the coming weeks. If not, I'll feel loveless, and that's never a good thing. I want the love, guys. Come on, bring it on. That being said, make sure you're giving us those comments. Make sure you're giving us reviews. good or bad, because we want to hear it all, because we want to make this show better for you. We have 2 more segments left. Big 12 recap. The conference went 9-5 overall. We had a lot of upsets. But one good one, West Virginia played really, really well and won their game. So, Alan, how do we do this week?
Yeah, so the Big 12, as you stated, went echoing. Went 9-5 as a whole, but yeah, it was pretty ugly. Obviously, we know Kansas State got upset by Missouri. We had Baylor beat Long Island for their first win of the season. Iowa State lost 10-7 to Ohio. I mean, they're just keep free falling as a program. Oklahoma
well, remember though, they have a lot of players out, because they all decided to gamble.
Yeah, they do. Oklahoma with another big win, 66-17. DG had 4 touchdowns in the first half alone. He's number 2 in QB rating in the country now. Our rival Cincinnati went down to Miami of Ohio to get their first loss of the season. So after a win at Pitt, they kind of crapped the bed there with a home loss to Miami of Ohio in overtime. Oklahoma State was probably the biggest shocker. They mustered 7 points against Big Bad South Alabama and lost 33-7 at home, which was probably the most shocking loss. Texas Tech got back on track with a 41-3 win. BYU beat SEC Arkansas, so that was, I would say, an upset. That was a nice win. So BYU is still undefeated. Like you said, West Virginia beat Pitt. Texas didn't look great in a 31-10 win over Wyoming. And then you had TCU beat Houston in the first conference game of the season. And then Kansas stayed perfect with a 31-24 victory over Nevada. So we are down to 5 undefeated teams left in the conference, which would be BYU, Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, and UCF. So 2 of the newcomers are undefeated and 2 of the outgoing teams are undefeated.
Going into conference play is the key there. Yeah. I mean, the all of college football this year has been just strange. A lot of the big teams, Georgia, obviously they're having troubles in the first half, and then to get it going. Well, we'll talk about them next. And then just everybody else. Texas had a terrible first half. Florida State. They were playing BC, another former UCF quarterback playing in that game. Mikey Keene, Fresno State won. They're
undefeated.
They won their game as well. I mean, they're a little bit of a paper tiger, but they're going to go into the Mountain West Conference. That will probably be the Pac whatever number here soon when they rebrand. That being said,
right, but the just to put it out there, Fresno State has beaten 2 Power 5 teams so far.
Who did they beat?
They obviously beat Purdue in the first game, and they beat Arizona State. They beat Arizona State 29-0. They shut them out on the road.
Arizona State. What was their record last year?
I don't know, but I mean, a 29-0 win on the road is pretty good.
Yeah, it's Arizona State. All right, let's keep going.
No, it's still good.
Who's the other one?
Huh?
Who's the other one?
Oh, then they just beat Eastern Washington, so that's their 3-0.
Yeah, but who was the other P5?
Purdue.
And it's Purdue. So again,
we're talking about Fresno State. So I'm just, it's good, solid 3-0 start for them.
Yeah, agreed. Hey, they won those games. You have to win them, but again, kind of a paper tiger there, so I wouldn't get too excited about that. That being said, another paper tiger this week was Alabama. Their quarterback woes continue. They're pretty terrible, and the only reason I bring them up is because we will bring up this score update every week as well. The Cows, to be the best, you have to play the best and lose most games. Stat of the week. So they won. They were tied with Bama 3-3 at the half. Bama just has no quarterback. Bama ended up pulling it out 17-3. You'll see Cal fans celebrate their win, to the point where Mr. Golish, and I don't know, did you get acquainted with Alex Golish, Trey, when you were here?
Yeah, I remember him. He was.
You were transitioning out when he came on.
Yeah, he was with the hypo staff. Him and actually Tyler Hudenick, who I played with for a few years. He's the O-line coach there now.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, Tyler Hoodie. Hoodie's the O-line coach.
Oh man, why?
You got
I have to like somebody on the coaching staff now.
Do what you got to do, man.
Come on, Hoodie. What's up with that?
If USF says, "Hey Trey, you coach for $10 million,"
Trey's coach.
Hold on, I'm gonna mute you now.
Sorry, not you. The Cows.
The Cows. Yes.
If they say, "Hey Trey, here's $10 million, come help us," hey man,
more like $10 in a bag of chips. They're still trying to build their IPF, or not their IPF, their on-campus stadium. So they don't have much to throw around. That being said, I didn't know that about Hoodie. Good luck, bro. Golish though, he went on a rant. He was like, "We don't want any moral victories. That's for losers," and like a whole thing for about 10 minutes. So they're not celebrating, but Cal fans are. Obviously, maybe there's some progress there, but I don't know how much of that is Bama just being terrible, not having a quarterback because the previous games were pretty terrible, or not. But we'll continue that, and we'll continue to check that as we go. It was Alabama's hometown team for the weekend as well, if you looked at the stadium. So,
stadium
all right,
was red. So.
Yeah, it was definitely red, and it wasn't the seats. Quick update on other UCF sports before we wrap up. UCF men's soccer, who was number 5, tied with number 4 West Virginia University in a tight battle. UCF really came on strong and was controlling things in the second half, but West Virginia's defense was phenomenal. They play a really, really tight defense, and we couldn't get it done. Our leading scorer did go out in the second half, the beginning of the second half, which was tough. Has an injury, but it was a really, really good game, well-attended game. Next up, we played another West Virginia team, number 2 Marshall, who is currently 7-0 after defeating number 9 JMU in Virginia 3-1. What I'll say about that is we're actually in a pretty good soccer conference, folks. People don't realize that by going to the Sun Belt or the Fun Belt, we actually upgraded our soccer conferences over the AAC. Now, I do have one rant on UCF men's soccer, and that is the coaches' polo. They have a random check mark, a Nike check, on the back of the polo. Like, you got stripes, you got all this stuff going on the back. You've got a check mark on the front. Nike, why do we have a random check mark on the back of the polo? Everything else is fire, by the way, for soccer's jerseys and all that stuff. I wish they'd sell them. But that just threw me off. I was watching the game. I was like, really? Like, what designer signed off on that?
I watch a lot of golf, and all the Nike golfers have that now, like Koepka, Rory, they all have the it's like a common thing now with the check mark on the back. Yeah.
Like in the middle of the back, like on the shoulder blade?
On the shoulder blade. But if you watch any like golf tournaments over the weekend, you'll see all the Nike golfers have that now.
Yeah. So I'm guessing that's so that they have the branding when their backs are turned, when they're teeing off or whatever. But man, that's terrible. I mean, I don't like that. I get it. You're trying to get your swoosh in there, but everybody knows who's got the swoosh and who doesn't. You don't need to show it on the back of the coach's shirt. Come on. All right. UCF women's soccer had a big win against West Virginia, 4-2, and are currently 5-2. We'll next play at Houston, who is 6-2. So pretty good Houston squad. We'll see how the ladies fare there. UCF women's volleyball is now 9-2, unfortunately. After they lost to number 17 Purdue 0-3. The last set, they were leading all the way up to the end of it, but Purdue just overpowered them. However, They also played against Illinois this week, another Big Ten team, won 3-2. So next up is Cincinnati away, September 21st. Remember, you can watch these games on ESPN Plus now. Whether it be soccer, whether it be volleyball, whether it be softball, soon to be softball. So make sure you're supporting the team. If you can't be there in person, watch them on TV. All right. So that's it for this week, folks. If you've managed to stick with us, it's 2:09. Make sure you're liking, subscribing, following, hitting our Twitter account at Knighted Ones on Twitter. If you're listening on podcasts, make sure you're giving us reviews. Tell your friends, and I hope you enjoyed the show. That's it for this week. We appreciate all of you tuning in to listen to us ramble. Have a great week. And charge on.
Charge on.